Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Just so you know, we do have quorum and we have started the live stream. So whenever you are ready to begin, I will hand it over to you.
Sure. Okay. I'll call the meeting to order. We have the agenda in front of us. The approval of the agenda. Does anyone have any additions or subtractions? Seeing none, they've got approval for the agenda. Councillor McLaren, a seconder. Ms. Willis, thank you. All those in favor? And that has passed. Okay. Now we have confirmation of the minutes for February 22nd. Presumably everyone's read it. So moving it, Councillor McLaren, seconding it, Mr. Knox, I believe, nodded there. And any corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that pass those. Okay. Item 4, disclosure of pecuniary interest. Any declarations? Seeing none, moving along then. Delegations, I don't believe there are any. Briefings, I believe there are none. And so we come to item 7, business. A, subset I, 161 Guthrie Drive. Does staff wish to present us with that? I guess that would be Mr. McBride. And there's Mr. Hazel too, so between the two of them.
Through your chair, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Officer McBride is here to lead us through a quick PowerPoint presentation on 161 Guthrie Drive and can answer any questions from the committee afterwards. I hope everyone's staying safe and we'll get started. Officer McBride.
Good afternoon, all. I hope you're well. Can you guys hear me okay? Good. So yeah, I'll just give you a brief synopsis of kind of the timeline of this property, 161 Guthrie. The initial property standards inspection took place on December the 18th. At that time, there were some violations noted. A number of those were either in the process of being addressed or had already been addressed by the property owner and Limestone Property Management. Following that inspection, I did reach out to Limestone Property Management representative Kate O'Hara. That was on the 22nd of December, 2020. I made her aware of two violations. They were drafty windows under section 5.9 of the property standards bylaw. That's speaking to the 2 front-facing windows in the bathroom and bedroom of that unit of the upstairs, the 3rd floor. The other violation mentioned to Kate at that time was 2 unoperative patio doors. The first of which was on the basement level floor, the walkout, and then the second patio door was on the main floor.
Sorry to interrupt, Officer McBride. Perhaps the committee clerk could go to the next slides. We do have some photographs to show along the way as well. And here is a order of the timeline. Apologize for interrupting, Officer McBride.
No, not at all. This is helpful, I'm sure. So after our brief correspondence, Kate O'Hara was aware of these fixes or potential fixes and mentioned to me that the property owner was in the midst of collecting estimates. On the 31st of December, I did issue a notice of violation with a compliance date of the 15th of February, 2021. From there was ongoing correspondence with Kate O'Hara, which I do have record of. It's not included in this PowerPoint. On the 26th of January, Ms. McCullough reached out to me. She is the paralegal representing the property owner. She made me aware of several factors which were fair points, COVID being the major factor. asking for an extension on that notice of violation. At that time, I agreed with that and did grant an extension. Through this ongoing correspondence with Kate O'Hara, at which I was never, she was kind of always my contact person. I was never advised to contact Miss McCullough. I expected maybe some invoices or estimates or some sort of documents to come through. I didn't hear much from her or from the property manager, or the property owner, I should say. I did have some correspondence that went on the 3rd of March with Kate in regards to the final measurement or dates of installation. She didn't have an answer for me at that time, so I did go ahead and issue the order to remedy on the 5th of March. The appeal date for that was the 29th of March, and the compliance date was set for the 31st of March. Yeah, from there, I can kind of answer any questions you guys might have for me.
Or we get to that point, perhaps we just go through the next couple slides that really highlight what's on the order. This slide just shows item 1 on the order in reference to section 5.9.
Right, so that's what I just mentioned there about the upstairs windows. Obviously, I visited in the midst of winter. It was noticeably, there was a draft coming through those 2 upstairs windows, front facing, bedroom and bathroom. So on the order, in the notice violation, it was just outlined that they should be repaired so as to be draft free. If I could get the next slide for. And then the second section 4.10, as it relates to the patio doors on the main floor and then the basement, in the walkout in the basement. Both of those doors, very difficult to get in and out of, very difficult to open. So I just asked for those to be either repaired or replaced so as to achieve a status of good repair and operational. No life safety issues for this property. So these are the pictures taken of they're all of the basement patio door, with the exception of the bottom row middle, that is on the main floor. It's obviously, it's kind of tough to capture the door being unoperative in photos, but this was one of the patio doors of concern. Maybe just the next slide. And again, these are the basement patio doors. Basement patio door on the left. I did want to speak to this slide and the slide next. This is an error. This photo is a rear facing window that is not mentioned on the order, so that can be ignored. And same with the top left there. That one is rear facing, not mentioned on the order. That can be disregarded. This is the bedroom window front facing. That is the one that is allowing the draft through. Next slide, please. Or is that it? That's it.
Okay. Any questions to staff from the committee? Mr. Knox.
Mr. McBride, just a question on the operating of the patio doors. Can they be locked? Or is there a security issue there also?
They can be locked. It's speaking only to the ability to open and close the doors.
Ms. Willis.
So I heard that you mentioned that there's no life safety concerns. I'm just wondering, are either of these patio doors required as a means of egress?
As far as I know, no, but they could be.
Okay, so are there two ways to leave the units without the patio doors?
The front door, and then other than the front door, there is not, no.
Okay. Do the patio doors open as they are right now?
They do, it just requires some amount of force, a
Okay.
fairly significant amount of force to get it open.
Okay,
And that's for both
Thank
of
you.
them.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee? I've got one. Is the unit occupied?
Yes, it's currently occupied.
It's currently occupied. Okay. And I think most of my rest of this is clear from all the exhibits received from the appellant. So at this point, the appellants or the representative can respond to the staff presentation. So I see Ms. McCullough there, but I'm not sure whether she's the one responding or not.
Good afternoon. I'm here to represent the owner with respect to this. I assume everybody's already received a copy of the exhibits that I supplied. Okay. So beginning with December 31st, I can agree that there was a notice of violation sent out to the owner of 161 Guthrie. The notice identified property standard concerns relating to some patio windows and a patio, some windows and a patio door of the rental unit. There was a compliance date of February 15th, which can be seen in Exhibit A. On January 11th, the owner was provided with an estimate from Tribond Property Management, as can be seen in Exhibit B. On January the 26th, I myself sent an email to Mr. McBride, the enforcement officer. The email, as he indicated, requested an extension to the compliant date due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. And there was a huge amount of difficulty in being able to get the measurements and a 16-week delivery time. That email is evidenced in Exhibit C. On January the 27th, we received an email from Adam Luck of Kingston Windows and Doors. He was explaining that the installation of the windows and the current wait time due to COVID-19 was substantial. That can be evidenced in Exhibit D. On January 27th, Mr. McBride responded to me acknowledging the substantial effects the pandemic had and granted the request for an extension. Mr. McBride further requested specific information to best determine a reasonable time for the extension. That can be evidenced in the email from Mr. McBride, Exhibit E. On January the 28th, I responded to Mr. McBride, thanking him for his understanding and providing him with the requested information, which was Kingston Windows and Doors, who was initially supposed to do the installation, as can be seen in Exhibit F, my email to Mr. McBride. There was no further communication from Mr. McBride since January the 28th. Nor was there any further communication from Mr. McBride advising of what the date of extension would be. During this time, unfortunately, Kingston Windows and Doors were able to visit the property and took their own measurements. After that, they revised their original quote, and the revised quote dated February 23rd was much higher and did not provide for Energy Star compliant windows. This caused the owner to instead pursue Tribond Property Manager. That can be evidenced in Exhibit G. On March 1st, the owner received the invoice from Tribond Property Management, as evidenced in Exhibit H. As well, he received confirmation of his payment, which can be in Exhibit I. On March the 3rd, the owner received an order to remedy issued by Mr. McBride. The order provided for the repairs to be completed on or before March 31st, evidenced in Exhibit J. On March the 7th, I issued another letter to Mr. McBride advising that the owner had received a copy of the order to remedy. The email respectfully expressed the confusion this has caused and that an extension had been granted. It further addressed the concern that the order was sent to Limestone and not to the owner, nor the owner's legal representative. Finally, the letter addressed the concern that Mr. McBride did not make any effort to contact McCullough Legal Services to discuss the matter. The letter addressed that the owner had made substantial steps towards remedying the issues during the pandemic and that the order was unnecessary and the compliance date was unreasonable. It further stated that the owner had no other option but to appeal this order. That can be seen in Exhibit K. On April the 8th, Tribon forwarded an email from the retained window supplier outlining that the estimated delivery times for the windows would likely be the end of May. That can be seen in Exhibit L. Based on all of that, we hereby request an extended extension to the compliance date. The property owner has demonstrated ample efforts to go above and beyond the order, communicated quickly, clearly, and in good faith with the city. The owner has clearly documented the delays due to the pandemic that remain out of the owner's control. It is our submission that a request for an extended extension is reasonable and should be granted.
Okay, any questions to the appellant's representative from the committee? I don't see any. Okay, so now Exhibit L indicates that they're aiming for the end of May, but there's no guarantees.
That is absolutely correct. We have no way in this current time to guarantee anything.
Right. Okay. So
I'd like to point out here that the owner is not required to take such expensive remedial steps, but in the interest of the property and the current occupants, he's decided to do that. And I think that he's been very reasonable, and he's certainly demonstrated substantial efforts to try and deal with this. And with all due respect, I was quite upset when I found out that Mr. McBride had simply moved on with everything, knowing that I was representing the owner. He and I had had many communications between the two of us. I never heard from him. He didn't even come back to me and say, your extension is granted until such and such a time. Had he have done that, then at that time, I would have reached back out to him and said, you know, Mr. McBride, unfortunately, we haven't been able to comply yet. Could we get a further extension? But there was no communication whatsoever.
okay, the Mr. Hazel, could you apprise us of the nature of extensions and who grants them and who does not?
Through your chair, thank you for the question. Extensions are decided with in conjunction with the property owner, property manager, and the officer based on a multitude of factors, such as some of the things described in this matter. COVID-19, for example, access to services, resources, all those types of things are considered. And then ultimately the officer has the discretion to provide, issue, and grant extensions.
Okay, so I'll look to be corrected by the rest of the committee, but it seems to me a question of, well, first of all, of course, should there be an extension, but secondarily, perhaps more importantly, how long that extension should be. Have we any input from the committee on that point? Ms. Willis. And then Mr. Storms, I believe, we just saw.
So I just wanted to note that as we looked through the exhibits, the window manufacturers had indicated a 16-week lead time. From March 1st, when the deposit was paid for, 16 weeks takes us to June 14th. So just as a frame of reference for when the windows would appear, I think we're somewhere between the end of May and mid-June, given that 12 to 16 week window.
And respectfully, I would just like to add that we would need to have some time for the installation. That's just the windows getting in. We're going to need some time to get them actually installed.
So that raises immediately the question, how long after receipt of the windows will it take to actually install the windows and patio doors?
My understanding that they should be able to install them within 2 weeks.
Oh, in 2 weeks. Okay, so we're talking 30 days or the end of June.
But respectfully, I would say yes, yes.
Okay. So in front of the committee is one fact that usually we meet in the 3rd week of June, which falls between 2 stools in this instance. On the other hand, we meet in, we could indicate an inspection at that time, but I'll put that as on the back burner for a second. And we would meet probably up. Ms. Fawcett has her hand up.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to bring your attention to the fact that we do have a member of the public with us in the meeting. I
Okay.
do know that
I didn't know that. Okay.
the tenant had asked to be a part of the meeting. Now, I don't know whether or not this is the tenant and whether or not they wish to speak, but just in case, I was hoping that the committee would recognize them if they wish to.
Okay, so we'll go immediately there. Thank you for that interlocution. So is the member of the public, well, apparently they're present. Do they wish to speak?
Mr. Chair, I'm just going to ask the member of the public who is with us if they wish to speak, if they could please use the raise hand function in Zoom. This is located in the center of the window when you move your mouse over the Zoom window. And they do have their hand raised, so I'm just going to ask them to unmute themselves. This is Mr. Fenton.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, how you doing? Yeah, I mean, a lot of things have been left out of this. I know there's a lot of people involved, like Limestone Management, Mr. McBride, and I'm currently also waiting to hear from the land tenant board people, because I put in complaints with them too. I spoke to the previous owner of this place, who was here for 13 years. She told me that she had very hard times dealing with this landlord. He would not do anything for her. He was forced to put a roof on this place and put a new floor here on this floor. That's all he's done to the place. When I dealt with Limestone, seeing as we were in Deep River, also dealing with COVID, we never had a chance to walk into this place. Limestone Property Management took a video for us, so we could be, in acceptance of taking this place over without having to actually see it. We were very concerned about the floors, and we mentioned that to them, that we wanted them to focus on the floors and carpets and the place. They took a video, and the words in their videos were quite, the carpets are good, things are good, the place is acceptable, kind of thing. So we took it on their faith. We had faith in them. But then when we came to the place, we quickly realized that it had been not maintained. I have a history here of all the stuff that's gone on. I have a Word document waiting to deal. And but there were certain things that safety things that Limestone were very good with. They came in right away. They took care of, railings that weren't going upstairs, things like this. Toilets that were on an angle, like, I don't know if you've ever been in the Science Museum, the leaning kitchen. Anyways, this is the kind of things we've been dealing with in this place. So, I don't want to get like really picky, and I mean, we have had so many estimates come through this place. It's been incredible. And that includes six measurements for windows and sliding doors, and countless for carpets. But nothing saying that it's getting done. So this is why, you know, I had to engage Mr. McBride in the city of Kingston. I could turn this laptop around, I don't know if you can see me, and I could show you the sliding door here and how difficult it is to open and close, including the one downstairs.
So, Mr. Fenton, thank you for that context.
$1,700 a month for a place.
Okay.
So I will, that's all I got to say.
I don't mean to cut you off, but we're an appeals committee dealing with the items that were on the order.
Right.
What you said does tend to supply context to the situation that we're dealing with. So I think the main concern, this is often brought up by Ms. Willis, is the place livable? And I gather there's a number of things that were not in order, but have been fixed, and some that have not. And we're dealing with two that appear not to have been, based on the report and even the exhibits themselves. So what we need to determine is whether we're going to extend the order, number one, and if so, to what date? And that's what I was originally trying to get to, is we will have, oh, Mr. Storms, you're correct. So put your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna thank Mr. Fenton for his input, but his issues pertain to his landlord-tenant board hearing, probably more so to us. It seems pretty clear from the paralegals submissions that there's estimates and things put in place, and there's no public health safety issues. So it would seem to me that the logical thing to do would be to extend it to July in order to give them time to get the product in, which I'm fully aware, getting product in at this time and getting supply in can be very difficult, and things are late all the time right now with COVID. And despite the fact that I understand that Mr. Fenton is upset about it and inconvenienced by it, it seems like the appropriate thing to do would be to have it extended to July to give everybody time to get the situation remedied.
Thank you. I will ask Mr. Hazel, I believe, or Mr. McBride, either one. When would be, what date should they, we always have an inspection before the meeting. The meeting would be at its regular time in July, if we do this. So I just wanted everybody to know when would be the best point to do the inspection. We were told it could be done by the end of June. Our meeting is until 3 weeks after that. I think
going in line with the meeting.
Sorry, go ahead.
My apologies, Chair, through you. Going in line with the meeting date in July, we would accept a reinspection date up till 11 a.m. that morning to ensure compliance was achieved.
Okay. Personally, I don't think I'm willing to wait that long. Okay. So I'm not sure about the committee, but that would be unusual. So usually it's a week before, but I'm wondering if a little earlier might be better, but maybe I could get some input from other members of the committee. Ms. Willis and Mr. Storms, and then Mr. Knowles.
If Ms. Fawcett could just confirm our meeting date, and I think that sometimes we've gone with an inspection no later than the Thursday before the meeting in past cases.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I can confirm that the expected date for the Appeals Committee meeting in July would be the 19th. That would mean that the preceding Thursday would be July 15th.
Okay, Mr. Storms?
Yeah, I was just actually, Ms. Wallace has took my question insofar as when the date was, but just because I was going to suggest the 8th, but I guess I'm not, as long as the inspection's done, I guess I'm not worried about when it does. I don't want to do it the day of the meeting, obviously, up to the day of the meeting, but the Thursday before, if that's our normal procedure, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Knox, did you have some input? Yes.
Mine is more a question. In the meantime, before replacement of the patio doors, can anything be done to make them easier to open and close and secure? As far as a temporary repair, or is it total replacement and that's the only answer?
Okay, I guess that's a question to the appellant's representative.
It is my understanding that the doors function. I do understand that they take a little bit more effort. However, I don't really think that there's an interim solution to make this easier until the door is in. It seems to have something to do with the actual metal framing that goes around the door and the tracks that it slides on. So to remove those doors and try to do something temporarily, I don't think that we would have the means to be able to get the required materials to do it. Not to mention that we're in a stay-at-home situation where they've kind of stopped our construction altogether, and hopefully that doesn't get us into something different. But
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Fenton, do you have any input on this?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I don't do this very often, not like you guys. The patio door downstairs and the door upstairs have come away from their entire frame so badly that when you go to try and slide them closed and open, the entire door has about 1.5 inch gap separating the space from the top of the door to the actual top of the frame. Because of this, the tracks, the metal tracks on both the doors have been so grinded and worn. Limestone did attempt to put some grease and stuff down on that, and it didn't help at all. Like I said, I can turn this laptop around and I can show you this door, which doesn't even have a locking mechanism on the handle of the latch anymore. It broke off, and Limestone refuses to fix it because they say that these doors are going to be replaced anyways. Yeah, they may be, but not for a long time, it looks like. So anyways, they are not going to be able to be fixed in a manner that they're going to get any better.
Okay, now, does staff have any input to that? About what might be done in the interim, as per Mr. Knox's question?
From the property standards bylaw perspective, the municipality is only able to point out the violations, and we cannot dictate to the property owner or management how to replace or what is the appropriate steps to take.
Sure. Okay. All right. That's understandable. I understand that. The just it might have something to do with dates.
Mr. Chair, sorry to interrupt. I don't have any issue, and nor would my client, with requesting that Tribond go to the property and see if there's anything that can be done in the interim to try and make it a little bit easier or some sort of a repair. I don't really see that as a problem, provided they're considered essential and can go.
Okay. So the only issue there would be public health and safety. Ms. Willis.
So to that, my concern continues to be, and I mean, doors are ordered, and egress To be honest, I understand that it's a semi-detached property. There's a front door. I don't know what the second means of egress is from the property. If it's that patio door, they're operable, but you know, making an emergency, and that is a little bit concerning to me. So if they could be more operable, I would certainly be wanting to see that. If they are really aged and poor repair, that might be a non-starter.
Mr. Knox.
And my concern is, my original question is whether they can be locked, and it sounds like from Mr. Fenton, the locking mechanism is not in working order, so we have a security aspect also.
It was my understanding from Mr. McBride that they do lock.
Yeah, my apologies. That was my understanding as well, that they both did lock. I don't have anything in my notes about them not locking.
Perhaps a bar could be put in it, but I don't know if that would work in this case or not. Okay, so on the item in front of us, I think we've got about as much context as we're going to fruitfully have. Do we have a motion to extend and looking to the Councillor McLaren?
I'm moving a motion to extend the order until June 30th, assuming till the meeting in July, assuming a check Thursday before.
Inspection, right. Okay, and I'm looking at the clerk for a second here. Can we add a clause to that that says, with the understanding that the landlord will try to ameliorate the patio door through repair?
Mr. Chair, I don't know that I can comment on whether or not that can be added. As far as I know, you're able to confirm, modify, or rescind. That would, to me, be deemed a modification. Therefore, should the committee wish to include that as part of the motion, that would be up to the committee.
Okay. So the question is, does the committee want to add something to that effect? We've done it before, but Mr. Storms.
I was going to say, I believe the representative for the owner said that she would be willing to recommend that to her client. If so, I don't see any harm. She could feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's what she said she would undertake to do. So I don't have an issue with modifying it.
And that's absolutely correct. I do undertake to do that. And I would like to add for the record, especially for Mr. McBride, I do understand that there's been some issues with limestone. There's no question, especially after hearing from the tenant. So I am making it very clear from this point forward that communication is to come through me. That way we can ensure that there's no further issues with miscommunication or something that should or shouldn't be happening.
Okay. All right, fair enough. All right. On the motion to extend, with the amendment, I'm not calling it an amendment, I'm calling it friendly, okay? So we don't have to go through that. So all those in favor?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, before I apologize, I do apologize for interrupting. I don't believe that we had a seconder on that motion, and
quite possibly true. Yep.
If we could just ensure that Councillor McLaren can acknowledge that he's okay with that amendment and that it be accurately stated for the record, that would be helpful.
Sure,
Please.
Sure.
Thank you.
He just indicated yes. You want him to say it? Say it, Mr. Councillor. Give the clerk a chance.
I move that we extend the order to the
July 19th.
July meeting, assuming that it's been checked, and with the suggestion to council that the owners to mediate the situation before.
Okay. We need a seconder, as we heard, Mr. Storms. Okay. So on the motion, moved by Councillor McLaren, second by Mr. Storms. All those in favor? All right. Anyone opposed? Are you in favor or opposed, Mr. Knox?
In favor.
Okay, fair enough. So that's unanimous. All right, thank you. I believe that's the end of that item. And moving on, item 7B is property updates, but there are none. 8, there are no motions. I'm just looking to make sure. No notice of motion. 10, no other business. No correspondence. The date of the next meeting is May 17, 2021, when the Alfords will be in front of us again. If you notice that. And then 13, we need item 13, adjournment motion. Who will make that motion? Someone. Council, okay. Ms. Willis, seconded by Councillor McLaren. All those in favor of adjournment? Thank you very much. Goodbye for now.